Want to welcome you to Doggone Connection. Thanks for spending the time to share a few moments with us. We're going to be showing you very shortly in the following video some very basics of dog training. Now, of course, dog training is not really dog training, it's people training. So we don't train dogs, we train people. Quite frankly, we don't train the people, but quite frankly, we point you to your dog who is going to train you. Because essentially the real teacher in your relationship with your dog is the dog. Trainers are just facilitators. You know, we've been observers and we enjoy it, so we want to share some of the observations with you that will make it helpful. Always like to ask the question, which is one of the very first questions we ask in class, is anybody a dog trainer out there? Don't hear anybody, don't see anybody say anything? The fact is everybody's a dog trainer. The reason I say that is because every time you interact with your dog, you're training them to do something. You're either training them to jump up, you're training them to be scared, you're training them to do whatever. Dog barks at the door, you open it up, dog jumps up, you pet it. You're reinforcing behaviors. So if you're now looking to change those behaviors or modify behaviors, you have to first change our behavior, your behavior. So that's basically what dog training is going to be about, is changing our behavior, disciplining ourselves to do things differently. Okay, so we know that there's not a whole lot of dog trainers out there. There might be some, I don't know, but I know some of you, I can see some of you out there watching this who are dog trainers, so we'll excuse you from this. How many of you think that your dogs want to please you? I see a lot of head shaking going on there. Very good, yeah. Yeah, of course they want to please you. So if your dog is in the parking lot and he sees a cat and they make eye contact and the cat is on the other side of the street and there's busy traffic and you drop your leash or the leash breaks or the collar comes off or something, eye contact, dog cat, cat takes off, dog takes off, you call your dog, dog does 180, wants to please you, come right back to you, right? Oh no, I see the head shaking. Yeah, dogs don't want to please you, they want to please themselves. And whatever is the most salient thing in their environment at the moment, that's what they're going to seek. So if you have a piece of meat here and a dry kibble here, where are they going to go? They're going to go to this. Let's say it's 100 degrees and you're inside, the dog's going to be lying on either the linoleum or the sofa. Where? The linoleum. It's colder, more comfortable. And vice versa if it's 20 degrees in your house. So just remember that dogs are always seeking that which pleases them. And remember that dogs are seekers. They're always seeking something. So you might as well give them something to seek that is going to please them. And what training really is getting the dog to do what you want them to do because it's going to please them. I'll say that again. Training is getting the dog to do what you want them to do because it's going to please them. How do you do that? You're going to reward the behaviors that you want. Now everybody knows that you don't want your dog to do this. You don't want your dog to do that. You know what you don't want your dog to do. And then you're responding retroactively. You know, they peed in the carpet, you clean it up, they're scratching at the door, you let them out, they're chewing on the furniture leg and you're getting all excited. So we're responding retroactively. What we want to do is we want to put into place a proactive program, make the dog successful, and the dog is rewarded for things that they do that are successful, it pleases them, and you've got a nice relationship going on. And you want to remember that this furry animal here is not a fur baby, it's an animal, so we want to kind of play into appreciating and respecting the fact that they are animals, and that way we can have a good relationship with them. We want to remember that these dogs are an incredible blessing, and they can teach us a lot about patience, mutual trust and respect, and they're our friend. All right. I have a great way to illustrate this relationship with our dogs. We get dogs because we think we're going to have a magic place that we're going to find that's going to get us closer to the center of the universe. And oftentimes what we have is we have this conflict, and just things aren't going well. And what we want is we want to work a relationship where we come together in a place right there that it happens. And that's where we're making the doggone connection. So we're working together as a team. And that's basically what we want. We want to work together as a team so we can do all kinds of things. Now you want to remember that the dog is your friend, and we want to befriend them by helping them show us the type of manners that they can exhibit that makes life good for us. Remember that they are your teacher, not the person who is doing the instruction, not the books. They are the teacher. So if you look at their behavior, look at what preempts their behavior, then you know that the modifying that you're doing comes from this end, okay? Another feature of our relationship with our dogs is we want to remember that they are pack animals, very social, and in any kind of pack, whether it's a combination of 2 legs, 4 legs, any combination thereof, there has to be somebody who's in charge, and that is the leader. That is you, the 2-legged animal. If you're uncertain what you're doing, then it's confusing for the dog. Dogs by nature are followers, so by having something clear to follow, rewarding them for following, remember these dogs are seekers, they will continue to follow and seek your direction. So that's something to keep in mind, because remember, you're always training them, always, and they're always watching you. They're watching you get up, move, all your different actions that you do. So purposeful actions, moving slow, is what's going to be very clear to the dog, and that's what will make a good relationship. What we want is to make the doggone connection. Dogs respond to environmental triggers, and those environmental triggers, they can be happy, or scary. Since we're a reward-based training program, what we want to do is we want to use rewards thoughtfully. We don't want to give them out freely. And resources and rewards, if they're available to the dog all the time, then they're not going to have any meaning. If a dog has access to food all the time, then food won't be much of a leverage for us. And we will use a lot of food reinforcement. If we have a lot of toys out, then the toys become meaningless, and rewards can be toys. This kind of training is reward-based training, it's not food-based training. So anything that the dog likes, whether it's up on the sofa, out the door, have the toy, play, those things are rewards that can be delivered to the dog in a timely fashion because of behavior that we like to see repeated. The reason that we use food is because food is something that we can repeat exercises and do it several times in a row, and it's a very strong motivator. So you always want to have a hungry dog. That's one of the nice things, is you make the dog work for the food, and it's not that hard to do. You're going to want to have some kind of pouch or some kind of container or carrier that you can carry the food around, and especially if you're delivering a lot of food. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't mind grease and crumbs in your pocket, you can carry it in your pocket, but quite frankly, I don't care for that. And there's different kinds of containers that, let's see, I got one. Oh yeah, here's one. What you don't want is you don't want the dog to always see the pouch, because if they see the pouch, then they're always going to rely on this, and when you reach in to grab the treat, then they're going to rely on seeing this to see the food, okay? And when you are using food and you're giving some direction to them, what you don't want to do is you don't want to hold it out in front of them like it's a carrot, because then what good is that? I'm only going to be interested if I see the pouch or if I see the carrot. But you want this to come from either hand. You want it to come from this hand or this hand, doesn't matter. But ideally, what you want is you want the dog to not really know what hand it's in. So instead of it being in this hand, it might be coming out of here, for all we know. But the idea is that we don't show the food, but the food comes after the repetition of the behavior. So keep that in mind. Now there's other kind of containers or pouches too. So I'm going to get another one. I like a pouch something like this, and this was custom made for me. And basically it wraps around your waist like so, and very easy to put on. And it's nice because if I'm wearing jeans, it matches with my jeans. And very easy to dip into like this. Now I do like to point out to people that if they wear the pouch there, I can guarantee you where the dog will be staring, and you're out in public and they're going to be asking what's going on in your home, and you don't want that. So it's always better to have the pouch back here like so. So that way you can kind of nonchalantly reach into it, have your food. Now you need some good food rewards. I'm going to show you the food rewards that I like. The food rewards that I like to use are about the size of a raisin, and they're soft and moist, and you can buy nice soft moist treats in the stores. I oftentimes will make them on my own by boiling some roast beef, cutting it up into little pieces, and then putting it in with the regular dog kibble in a container, and then by osmosis all of those little dry kibbles become moist with a nice meaty smell. Now what you have to do is you have to experiment to find out what your dog likes. Around your home, use just their regular kibbles, and you don't need to feed or provide treats in addition to their food, but take a portion of their food that you feed them in the morning or night, set that aside, use that for your rewards. Now if you're going out in public, this is where you need the high value rewards, because remember, your dogs are paying attention to either what's out there or what's on this side of the leash. So we've got our treats here, our food treats, and if you notice I can just nonchalantly gather them here. I can do that, whatever. Got them in both hands, but the dog doesn't know it. The dog doesn't know what hand they're in. But now we're ready to go. Well, you remember that when you're trying to do something that's difficult and you first start out, how cumbersome and clumsy it is. So just like juggling, you know, you start off with one ball and you get comfortable doing one ball. And then of course your dominant hand is always better than your non-dominant hand. I'm right-handed. Left-handed is a little bit more awkward, not quite as smooth, but you get used to doing that. And this is all muscle memory. Okay. Then you get used to this. And this is kind of how you start out. So in dog training, you're starting out very simple, and for the dog, you can imagine how difficult that can be. So you got that going on with one ball. Take your second one. Kind of get used to doing that. Usually when you start out, you're doing something like this until you get confident enough that you can throw it up in the air. And you want to do it both ways. So for the dog, for you, doing anything repetitive, it means a lot of practice. And even doing this, it took me, my middle name is not Speedy, it took me a week or two to just get this far. And by the way, I'm not a very good juggler. But if we add a third ball, then what generally happens is you're doing stuff like that. Never get disappointed. Dropping a ball is a good thing because it makes you better. So you get that, and you get that, and you try to get that little rhythm going on, and then pretty soon you're doing this. Okay, and you can do different patterns. You can do this, this, and you can do this. Whoa, whoa!